Mrs. Crime, Mr. Wade, bringing you the stories. Stay tuned for a lot more. It all started back when I was about 12 years old. My first experience of death was with my cousin. She used to babysit me when I was about the age of 6 to about the age of 10. My mom and dad both worked, so I'll go over to my aunt's business and my cousin would watch me. My mom and dad decided one day to have another baby, and they had my sister. To go a little forward, she ended up babysitting my sister. She would come to the house and she would eat up everything because that was her thing. And she would sit in my sister's room when she had a crib. And she would watch my sister while my mom got rest from injuries that she received from having my sister. So as time goes on, you know, as a brother, I noticed that her bedroom, my sister, had more sunlight than I had in my room. So my mom would let me switch all the furniture from my room to her room and from my sister's room back to my room. So I did all that. And during this time, I remember like it was yesterday, I was in the garage and my dad was working on the thing that pulls up the garage door. Yes, that's right. The garage door opener. And my uncle came outside to the garage and told my dad that, hey, that he got a call from my grandmother telling him that my cousin passed away that day. I didn't really know what was going on because I'm not really familiar with this thing called death. Suddenly, to make things go faster, my dad, my uncle, and me, my mom came home. She was working then. And we ended up going to my aunt's School of Opportunities to actually hear about the event and what's going to happen from that place. You know, I'm only 12, going on 13, so it might be 12 and a half. But anyways, I end up hearing everything, and then we end up having a funeral about a month later for my cousin. She passed away. She was the age of 26. So as a young child, young teenager, and I'm 12 going on 13, and my sister is like 3. Well, you know, the funeral comes. I didn't get to go to the funeral. I ended up staying back with a relative until the funeral was over. So I did not go to my cousin's funeral. So a couple of months go by. The story gets deeper. So at this time, I'm the age of 13, and February just passed. And February 14th is called Valentine's Day, correct? So my dad buys my little sister a Valentine's gift and a big old balloon that was red, shaped like a heart. I still remember it because it was a very big balloon for that time, that era. But yes, a big heart balloon. So on a Sunday night, we're all watching TV in my mom and dad's room. My sister's in the bed in between my mom and dad watching TV, and I'm on this couch at the foot of the bed. And all of a sudden, this balloon that was in my sister's room comes floating into the bedroom where my mom and dad and I were watching TV. Now this balloon floats around above me, it floats around my mom and dad's bed, it floats around numerous times. Slowly, we're not thinking much about it. But then the balloon decides to float back out the room, and it makes a left and goes down the hallway towards the kitchen. The inquiring, quivering mind, I decided to go ahead and follow this balloon. And this balloon actually floated along the ceiling, just enough to touch it, but floating all the way to the kitchen. And it stayed in the kitchen. I went running back into my mom and dad's room, and I told them, hey, Mom, Dad, the balloon is now in the kitchen. My dad gets up and says, hey, I'm a little hungry, so I'm going to give me a pork chop. So he walks in the kitchen by himself. I stayed back in the bedroom. A few minutes later, he comes walking back real quickly and walks back to the room and says, tells my mom, hey, that balloon is coming back down the hallway. It's kind of weird. So as we're watching TV, I'm on the couch and my mom and dad's in the bed and my sister's lying between them on the bed and watching TV. And what do you know? This balloon comes back down the hallway, makes a right, and comes back into my mom and dad's bedroom. And it's floating around the room numerous times. Wow. But be advised, this balloon says, I love you on it, because my dad bought it for my sister for Valentine's Day. So after the balloon was in my mom and dad's room for about, I'll say a good 30 minutes, it just stayed in there. Then it decided to leave. My mom and dad was thinking maybe it's the heat that cuts on it, pushes the balloon around. Like I said, I'm 13. I really don't know what it is, but it looks weird. The balloon decides to float back out to the hallway, then it goes across the hallway and goes into my newfound room that used to be my sister's. Now, it goes in the room and it stays at the ceiling, just below the ceiling, but floating. Now, the balloon, as I can see it from my mom and dad's room, it automatically drops down to the floor slowly. It goes down to the floor slowly. So now this balloon dropped down slowly near the floor, and it's right in the same spot that my cousin sat against the wall as she was watching my sister when she was born. So I instantly relate that to being my cousin. She came back to give a friendly spirit, but we felt like it was something wrong. Now, that's spooky. I'm not going to lie. It's very spooky. But the balloon just sat there for the rest of the night. You know the old saying, after the movie goes off, it's about 9:30, so I hear that it's time for bed. I then go to the room, I call my mom and said, hey, this balloon is sitting right here. That's where Darlene sat at. I don't know, maybe the balloon is losing helium, my mom says. You know, when a balloon loses helium, it drops. So I went to bed and covered my head because I don't want to see that balloon sitting in the corner. Look like it could be related to my cousin. So morning time comes, the clock goes off, wakes me up. It's about 6:30, almost 7 in the morning. I got to be at school at 7:45. My mom is in the kitchen making scrambled eggs. Boy, I love scrambled eggs. So I happen to sit on the edge of the bed. I look to the right. The balloon's not there. I figured my mom must have took the balloon in the next room and maybe put it back in the kitchen. But I realized, I look up and the balloon is right back at the top of the ceiling. The balloon dropped down to the floor and stayed there all night. But in the morning time, the balloon was right back up to the ceiling. Just below the ceiling, but right back up. What kind of helium is this? I ran out and told my mom. My mom came by and said, hey, I saw that. That was nothing but our cousin floating around the house saying she loves everybody. That's all it was. So don't take nothing about it. Just deal with it. The fact that's how life is. Sometimes spirits come back. Sometimes spirits go. But unfortunately and fortunately, that was my cousin, because it did the exact thing that she did when she used to watch my sister. It sat right by the wall, and it dropped down to where she sits up against the wall to watch my sister. Wow.